Welcome back to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a journey straight into the intricate, incredibly complex motor control engine of the human brain. We are putting a major spotlight on a tiny yet mighty molecule that essentially dictates how you navigate the physical world. It's called enkephalin.
Now, before we really trek into the neuroanatomy here, I want to hook you with a question that might seem kinda simple at first glance. Think about the last time you reached for a cup of coffee. Starting that movement feels totally intuitive, right? But how does your brain know exactly how to stop your hand right as your fingers wrap around the mug, instead of just launching your hand straight through it? We always think of movement as this active process of starting, but stopping a physical movement is just as active, just as biologically complex, and requires some incredibly precise chemical machinery.
Section 1. Journey into the striatum.
Okay, so we're diving deep, way past the outer layers of the brain, straight down into the basal ganglia. Welcome to the striatum. You can think of it as the ultimate grand central station for the complex chemical signals that regulate every single one of our physical actions. It's a critical subcortical structure where the brain's two major motor control pathways, the direct pathway and the indirect pathway, both converge and originate. It's literally the command center for deciding whether you go or whether you stop.
Section 2. Meet the medium spiny neurons.
So, the main local inhabitants here are the medium spiny neurons, or MSNs for short. They are the principal projection neurons of the striatum, basically acting as the crucial physical wiring of our motor pathways. Imagine them with these sprawling, spiny branches covered in surface receptors, almost like satellite dishes just waiting to catch signals. But the really important part is inside. They're loaded with specific chemical tools ready to be deployed at a moment's notice.
And they carry a pretty potent mix of neurotransmitters and neuropeptides. You've got GABA, which is a major inhibitory neurotransmitter, you've got substance P, you've got dynorphin, but the absolute star of our explainer today is that final neuropeptide on the list, enkephalin. Stick with me, because you're about to see exactly why it is so vitally important to your everyday life.
Section 3. Enkephalin and the brakes.
If your body's motor system is a car, we're about to pop the hood and look right at the braking system. On one side, we have the direct pathway. This is your brain's gas pedal. It promotes voluntary movement using substance P and GABA to send excitatory go signals up to your motor cortex. But on the flip side, the indirect pathway is designed to modulate and actually decrease movement. It uses enkephalin alongside GABA to put the brakes on your motor output. So enkephalin is, quite literally, the biological brake fluid of your brain.
Let's walk through the actual physical route enkephalin takes to apply those brakes. Step 1. The specific MSNs in the striatum fire off, releasing enkephalin and GABA. Step 2. The signal travels along the indirect pathway over to a structure called the globus pallidus external segment, or GPE. Step 3. This triggers an inhibitory input down to the subthalamic nucleus, or STN. And finally, Step 4. This relay projects an output to the globus pallidus internal segment, the GPI, which clamps down and decreases your movement. It's just a beautifully precise multi-relay system.
I really can't emphasize this enough. Enkephalin ultimately puts the brakes on increasing movement. Without this incredibly specific chemical cascade, your direct pathway would just run wild. Enkephalin maintains that delicate balance. It's what gives you smooth, regulated physical actions and allows you to gracefully stop your hand right as you grab that coffee cup.
Section 4. The Huntington's disease mystery.
But every biological system has its vulnerabilities. We have to look at what happens when this delicate enkephalin circuitry starts to break down. In a healthy brain, where MSN integrity is intact, your motor pathway output is smooth and balanced. But in Huntington's disease, which is a devastating neurodegenerative condition, these neurons are progressively lost. The physical result? Unregulated, completely erratic movement.
Now, what's deeply fascinating and honestly really tragic is the sheer specificity of this disease. Out of the massive structure of the striatum, the medium spiny neurons are uniquely the most vulnerable cells. And even more specific than that, research shows us that the exact subset of MSNs containing enkephalin are the ones hit earliest and hardest by Huntington's disease.
And researchers can actually see this physical loss under a microscope. By using special stains that highlight enkephalin, scientists can watch the indirect pathway literally disappear. As the disease grade worsens, the enkephalin staining in the GPE is dramatically lost. We aren't just guessing here. We have hard, observable scientific evidence that the brain's braking fluid is draining away.
Section 5. When the brakes fail.
Because those enkephalin-containing neurons are destroyed first, early-stage Huntington's disease is characterized by something called chorea. These are hyperactive, involuntary, uncontrollable movements. The direct pathway's gas pedal is still jammed down, but the enkephalin brakes are completely gone. Later on, as the disease progresses, wider excitatory pathways also begin to break down, which eventually leads to severe rigidity and hypoactivity. But it's that early loss of enkephalin that triggers the visible physical tragedy.
So what we're looking at is a catastrophic domino effect. It starts with the progressive loss of those specific MSN projections to the GPE. That leads to a total breakdown of the indirect pathway. Without that pathway, the brain entirely loses its ability to modulate the excitation coming from the direct pathway. And finally, you end up with a severe imbalance across the basal ganglia motor circuits. The whole system cascades into failure, all stemming from the loss of our key molecule, enkephalin.
Which leaves us with a really lingering and hopefully inspiring question for the future of neuroscience. If these enkephalin-containing neurons are the absolute most uniquely vulnerable link in the chain, could finding a way to specifically protect them be the ultimate key to stopping Huntington's disease in its tracks? Could we save the brakes to save the patient? It's a frontier of research that is actively being explored right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.